Commander stood at the edge of the observation deck and watched the stars. His forearms were folded behind his back. His scales, dark green and thick enough to stop a knife, caught the light from distant suns. He was tall, even for his kind. 7 feet of muscle and bone and natural armor. The greatest warrior the Empire had ever produced. 142 fights, 142 victories, 0 defeats. And yet he felt nothing. The crowd still cheered when he entered the arena. They still gasped when he drew his plasma sabers. They still roared when his opponents fell. But the fire that once burned in his chest had become cold ash. Victory meant nothing when it came so easily. His opponents were skilled, some were even brave, but they all fell the same way. A few minutes of dancing and dodging and then it was over. Would stand over another broken body and the crowd would scream his name and he would feel empty. He wanted more, he needed more. He needed a real fight. "Commander," a voice came from behind him. It was his second-in-command, a smaller with a scar running down the left side of his face. He had lost that eye in a battle long ago and never replaced it. He said it reminded him to stay humble. "What is it?" asked without turning around. "The human delegation has arrived. Their ship docked an hour ago." His eyes narrowed. Humans. He had heard stories about them. Everyone in the galaxy had heard stories about them. They came from a world called Earth, a place the Galactic Council had classified as a Class 7, the highest rating possible. On most worlds, life evolved in balance. Predators and prey found harmony. The weather was gentle, the plants were safe, but Earth was different. Earth was a nightmare. On Earth, the weather could kill you. Storms of wind and water that flattened cities, mountains that spit fire, ground that shook and swallowed buildings whole. The very air could turn against you, bringing heat that cooked flesh or cold that froze blood. And the life forms were worse. Predators with teeth and claws and venom. Tiny creatures too small to see that could invade your body and destroy you from within. Even the plants were dangerous. Some could poison you with a single touch. The humans had evolved in this hell. They had not just survived, they had conquered. They had climbed to the top of their world's food chain through pure stubbornness and violence. Smiled. For the first time in months, he felt something stir in his chest. "I want to meet them," he said. The human delegation was small. Only 5 of them, led by a man with gray hair and tired eyes who introduced himself as Ambassador Park. He spoke the common galactic language well, though with a strange accent that found amusing. "Commander," the ambassador said, bowing slightly, "it is an honor to meet the champion of the Empire. Your reputation reaches far." "As does yours," replied. "The reputation of your species, I mean. Survivors of a planet that tries to kill everything on it." The ambassador's smile became stiff. "We prefer to focus on our other qualities, our art, our science, our desire for peaceful cooperation." "Peace is for those who cannot fight," stepped closer, towering over the small human. "I have a proposal, Ambassador. I wish to challenge one of your warriors to single combat, a proper duel in the grand arena." The ambassador blinked. "I'm sorry. Your species comes from you must have warriors of great skill. I want to fight one of them. I want to test myself against the best humanity has to offer." The other humans in the delegation exchanged looks, could not read their expressions. Human faces were strange, too flat, too soft, with too many tiny movements. "Commander," the ambassador said carefully, "we did not come here for combat. We came to negotiate trade agreements. And you will have your trade agreements, but first I want my fight." His voice hardened. "Consider it a cultural exchange, a demonstration of our respective martial traditions." The ambassador was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to speak quietly with his people, watched, growing impatient. Finally, the ambassador faced him again. "Very well, Commander, we will provide a representative, But I must warn you, our approach to combat is different from yours. We do not fight for sport or honor, we fight to survive." "Even better," said, "I am tired of sport, I want something real." The next morning, arrived at the meeting chamber expecting to see soldiers. He imagined humans in heavy armor, carrying advanced weapons. He imagined muscled warriors with scars and hard eyes. Instead, he saw a girl. She was small, tiny really, barely 5 feet tall, with a thin frame and dark hair pulled back from her face. She wore simple clothes, loose pants, and a fitted jacket, both in plain gray. No armor, no weapons that he could see. Her hands were empty and relaxed at her sides. She looked like she weighed less than one of his arms. "This is," the ambassador said. "She has agreed to accept your challenge." Stared, then he laughed. The sound echoed off the chamber walls, loud and harsh. "This is a joke," he said. "You send me a child." "I am 26 years old," the girl said. Her voice was calm and flat. Her eyes met his without fear, without anything at all. "Old enough." "You are tiny, you have no weapons, no armor," spread his forearms wide. "I could break you with one hand." "Maybe," she said. "You wanted a real fight, you are getting one." "This is an insult to my honor." "No," tilted her head slightly, studying him the way a scientist might study an insect. "This is exactly what you asked for. You wanted to fight a human. I am a human. If you are afraid to face me, you can withdraw your challenge." Scales flushed dark with anger, afraid. He had never been afraid. He had never backed down from any opponent. And he would not start now, certainly not because of this tiny creature. 3 days, he growled. "We fight in 3 days, in the grand arena, before the eyes of the entire station. And when I break you, little human, everyone will see how weak your species truly is." Smiled. It was a small smile, barely a curve of her lips, but something in it made stomach tighten in a way he did not understand. 3 days, she agreed. "I will be ready." She turned and walked away, watched her go, his hands clenched into fists. Behind him, stepped closer. "Commander," he said quietly, "I have a bad feeling about this." "Nonsense," said. But as he stared at the door where the human girl had disappeared, he could not shake the strange coldness settling in his chest. The news spread across station like fire through dry grass. The undefeated champion had challenged a human to single combat. Not a soldier, not a marine, but a small woman who looked like she could be knocked over by a strong wind. The betting houses opened their books within hours. The odds were 500 to 1 against the human. Some houses refused to take bets on her at all. It would be like betting on a leaf to survive a hurricane. The grand arena had not seen this much attention in decades. Tickets sold out within minutes. Those who could not get seats paid for standing room. Those who could not get standing room crowded into bars and common areas to watch on screens. 50,000 souls packed the arena, and millions more watched from across the station and beyond. Everyone wanted to see the slaughter. In his private training chamber, prepared for the fight, he ran through his forms, his 4 arms moving in perfect harmony. Each movement was a masterwork of 100 years of practice. His plasma sabers hummed and crackled, leaving trails of light in the air. Watch from the doorway. His one good eye was troubled. "You should know what you are facing," he said. Did not stop his practice. "I know exactly what I am facing. A tiny human with no weapons. The fight will last seconds. That is what worries me." Paused, explain. Stepped forward holding a data tablet. "I have been studying the humans, their history, their military records. I found something disturbing." "Show me." The tablet displayed footage from a human conflict. 2 humans fighting. Watched, expecting some form of display combat like his own. What he saw was different. There was no dancing, no posturing, no impressive moves designed to intimidate. One human attacked and the other human responded. The entire fight lasted less than 4 seconds. One of them was left on the ground, not moving. That was a trained soldier, said. The one who lost. The one who won was a civilian with minimal combat training. A lucky strike, said, but his voice was less certain. There are hundreds of these recordings, thousands. Their fights never last long. They do not seem to understand the concept of extended combat. His voice dropped. On their world, extended combat means death. Their predators do not give second chances. Their evolution has taught them one lesson: end the threat immediately or be ended. Handed back the tablet. I am not some wild animal from their planet. I am the champion of the Empire. My scales can stop a plasma round. My bones are 3 times denser than theirs. I have 4 arms to their 2. Superior reach, superior strength, superior speed. All true, admitted, and yet nothing, resumed his practice. I appreciate your concern, old friend, but I have faced opponents far more dangerous than this little human. I will be careful. I will not underestimate her, but I will defeat her. Said nothing more, but as he left the training chamber, the worry in his eye had not faded. Across the station, in a small room provided by the human delegation, sat on the floor with her eyes closed. Her breathing was slow and steady. Her heart rate was calm. She had been sitting like this for 2 hours. The door opened. Her handler stepped inside carrying a tray of food. He was a stocky man with thick shoulders and a face that rarely showed emotion. He had been with for 5 years now. He knew her better than anyone. You should eat, he said. Later. The fight is tomorrow. I know when the fight is, opened her eyes. I am ready. Set the tray down and sat across from her. You do not have to do this. We could negotiate. The ambassador could claim diplomatic concerns. Does not understand what he is asking for. No, agreed. He does not, but he needs to learn. They all do. And if you kill him? Considered the question. It was not a matter of whether she could kill him. She had studied his fighting style. She had analyzed his movements, his patterns, his weaknesses. Despite his size and strength and natural armor, he had many weaknesses. He had trained for arena combat, for display fighting, for spectacle. He had never trained for survival. She had done nothing but train for survival since she was 6 years old. If I kill him, she said slowly, then the next champion will ask better questions before demanding a real fight. They might take offense. It could harm diplomatic relations. They are not stupid. They will understand what happened, and they will think twice before challenging humans again. Stood, stretching her muscles. That is the point. We are new to the galactic community. We are small, weak, fragile by their standards. Every species looks at us and sees prey. So you will show them we are predators. No, began moving through her own forms. Unlike dramatic displays, her movements were small and efficient. Each motion flowed into the next without pause or wasted energy. I will show them that the difference between predator and prey does not matter. What matters is who understands violence better, what it is, what it costs, how to use it. She stopped and looked at. They have not fought a real war in 300 years. They have forgotten what violence truly means. They think it is sport, entertainment, a way to prove honor and earn glory. Her voice was quiet. Humans have never forgotten. We cannot forget. Our world did not let us. Nodded slowly. He had seen fight before. He knew what she was capable of. And he knew that tomorrow 50,000 spectators would watch something they had never seen before. Not a battle, but an education. What should I tell the ambassador? He asked. Tell him to have medical teams ready. Tell him to prepare a diplomatic statement. And tell him, she paused, a small smile crossing her face. Tell him to bet on me. The odds are very good right now. That night dreamed. He dreamed of a dark forest full of shadows. He dreamed of eyes watching him from every direction. He dreamed of something hunting him, something small and patient and utterly without mercy. He woke in a cold sweat, his heart's pounding. Dawn came slowly. The station's artificial sun brightened by degrees, filling the corridors with pale light. Dressed in his ceremonial armor, helped him with the straps and buckles, his movements practiced and precise. "Whatever happens," said, "it has been an honor serving you." Laughed, but the sound was hollow. "I am not going to die, old friend." "I know," said, but his voice was not convincing. In the human quarters ate a simple breakfast of rice and vegetables. She dressed in her fighting clothes, the same loose pants and fitted jacket she had worn at their first meeting. No armor, no weapons. Walked her to the arena entrance. The crowd noise was already deafening, a roar that shook the walls. "Last chance to back out," he said. Shook her head. "He wanted a real fight. I am going to give him one." The doors opened. The crowd's roar became a thunder, and walked forward to meet her opponent. The grand arena was a circle of light and noise. Energy shields hummed along the edges, strong enough to contain any weapon, any explosion, any violence. The floor was smooth metal, polished to a mirror shine. Above, 50,000 spectators filled every seat, their voices blending into a single, endless roar. Entered from the north gate. He walked slowly, savoring the moment. His scales gleamed under the arena lights. His 4 arms swung at his sides, each one thick with muscle. He wore his ceremonial armor, gold and green, the colors of the Empire. At his hips hung his twin plasma sabers, their hilts waiting for his hands. The crowd cheered. They chanted his name. They had come to see their champion destroy this tiny human, this insult wrapped in flesh. Raised his arms and let their love wash over him. This was what he lived for. This was everything. Then the south gate opened. Walked out. The crowd went quiet, not silent but quieter. A ripple of confusion spread through the stands. They had expected something more, something impressive, some trick or hidden weapon that would make the fight at least interesting. But there was nothing, just a small human woman in plain gray clothes, walking with easy steps toward the center of the arena. Her hands were empty. Her face was calm. She moved like she was taking a stroll through a garden, not walking into a death match. Watched her approach. His earlier anger had faded, replaced by something else. Curiosity, perhaps, or confusion. He could not understand why she seemed so relaxed. Did she not know what was about to happen to her? They stopped 10 meters apart. The arena's announcer, a booming voice that came from everywhere at once, introduced them both. Achievements took several minutes to list. Introduction was brief. Her name, her species, that was all. "Are you ready?" the announcer asked. Drew his plasma sabers. They ignited with a hiss, their edges glowing white-hot. He spun them in his hands, the blades leaving trails of light in the air. It was a display he had perfected over decades, designed to intimidate and impress. Did not react. She just stood there watching him with those calm, empty eyes. "Are you ready?" the announcer asked again, this time directed at her. "Yes," she said. A gong sounded. The fight began. Moved first. He lunged forward, all 4 arms working in coordination. His first strike was a diagonal slash from upper left to lower right, a move that had killed 17 opponents. It was fast, precise, and utterly lethal. Was not there. She had moved before his blade even began its arc. Not jumped, not dodged, just shifted like water flowing around a stone. She was inside his guard now, closer than any opponent had ever been. Her palm struck his lower left wrist. The joint shattered. His brain could not process what was happening. Pain exploded up his arm, but before he could react, she was moving again. Her elbow drove into the side of his right knee. Something cracked. His leg buckled. He tried to swing with his remaining arms, but she was already past him. Her fingers stabbed into his throat, precisely targeting the soft spot between his scales. His vision blurred. He could not breathe. Then her knee came up. It hit the cluster of nerves at the base of his spine, his secondary nervous system, the backup that all had. The one weakness in their otherwise perfect armor. She knew exactly where it was. She hit it with perfect accuracy. Vel. The arena was silent. 50,000 spectators stared in disbelief. The fight had lasted 3 seconds, maybe less. Stood over the fallen champion. She was not breathing hard. She was not sweating. She looked exactly the same as when she had entered the arena. "The fight is over," she said, her voice carrying in the silence. "He will live, send medical teams." Then she turned and walked back toward the south gate. The silence lasted 3 more seconds. Then the chaos began. The recording of the fight spread across the galaxy within hours. Military analysts studied it frame by frame. They slowed it down to 1/10 speed, then 100th, trying to understand what they were seeing. It was not magic. It was not superhuman speed or strength. His movements were within normal human parameters, impressive but not impossible. What made it devastating was the efficiency. She had not wasted a single motion. Every step, every shift of her weight, every strike had been calculated for maximum effect. She had targeted weaknesses that most did not even know they had. She had ended the fight before it truly began. "This is how they fight," one analyst wrote in his report. "This is what it produces. Not bigger muscles or faster reflexes, but something far more dangerous. The absolute refusal to waste time in combat. They do not fight to win. They fight to survive. And survival means ending the threat as quickly as possible." In the medical bay, drifted in and out of consciousness. His injuries were severe but not fatal. His left wrist was shattered. His right knee was cracked. His throat was badly bruised. The nerve strike to his spine had temporarily paralyzed his lower body. He would recover. The doctors said he would walk again in a few weeks. He might even fight again someday. But he would never be the same. Stood by his bed, silent and still. He had watched the fight from the stands. He had seen his commander, the greatest warrior of their generation, fall in 3 seconds. He did not know what to say. His eyes opened. They were clouded with pain and drugs, but aware. "You were right," he whispered. "You tried to warn me." Shook his head. "I did not know it would be like that. I thought she would be fast, maybe dangerous. I did not think." "No one did," closed his eyes again. "I wanted a real fight. I got one." Outside the medical bay, crowds gathered. Some were angry. How dare this human humiliate their champion? Some were afraid. If one small human could do this, what could an army of them do? And some were simply confused, trying to understand what they had witnessed. The human delegation remained in their quarters, protected by station security. Ambassador Park gave a brief statement. "We warned the commander that human combat is different. We are sorry for his injuries and wish him a swift recovery. We remain committed to peaceful relations with the Empire." No one believed the peaceful part anymore. In her own quarters, sat by the window and watched the stars. Sat across from her, holding 2 cups of tea. "How do you feel?" he asked. Took a cup and sipped. "Fine. You just destroyed the most famous warrior in this sector. You humiliated him in front of millions of viewers. You might have started a diplomatic incident." "I did exactly what was needed." His voice was calm. "Nothing more, nothing less." "And the next time, what happens when another champion challenges us?" Looked at him. Her eyes were tired but steady. "Then I will do it again, as many times as necessary, until they understand." "Understand what?" She looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there her spun through the void. A world of storms and predators, of poison and pain. A world that had forged her into what she was. "That real fights are not games," she said. "That violence is not sport, and that if they want peace with humanity, they should not go looking for war." She finished her tea and stood. "Tomorrow I will visit him, the champion. I owe him an explanation." Raised an eyebrow. "You think he will listen?" "I think he has no choice," smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "That is the thing about lessons taught with pain. They are very hard to forget." Medical bay was quiet. Machines hummed softly, monitoring vital signs. His body was held still by pain suppression fields, invisible forces that kept him from moving and making his injuries worse. He could not feel his legs. The doctors said that would come back, but right now, all he felt was numb. He heard footsteps, light, almost silent. He knew who it was before he saw her. Appeared beside his bed. She held a data tablet in one hand and her face showed no expression. She looked at him the way one might look at a puzzle that needed solving. "You are awake," she said. "Good. The doctors said you would recover mostly." Tried to speak. His throat burned with pain. "Do not talk yet." Pulled a chair close and sat down. "Your windpipe is bruised. I pulled the strike or you would be dead. You have questions. I will answer them." She set the tablet aside and folded her hands in her lap. "You wanted to know why you lost. You want to understand what happened in that arena. You cannot accept that a small, unarmed human destroyed you in 3 seconds. It does not fit with everything you believed about yourself, about combat, about the universe." His eyes burned. He wanted to deny it, to insist that she had cheated somehow, used some hidden weapon or forbidden technique. But he had watched the recordings. He had seen exactly what happened. There was no trick. There was only her. "Here is the truth," said. "You are bigger than me, stronger than me. You have more arms, thicker armor, denser bones. In any fair competition of raw physical power, you would crush me." She leaned forward. "But combat is not a fair competition of raw physical power. Combat is about ending threats. And I have spent my entire life learning how to end threats as quickly as possible." Made a sound, a rough whisper that might have been a word. "Yes, I will explain," nodded. "You come from a peaceful world. Your species evolved without major predators. Your climate is stable, your food is plentiful. Violence for your people became a ritual, a game, a way to prove honor and status." She gestured at the room around them. "Your arena combat is beautiful, it really is. I watched recordings of your fights. The way you move, the patterns of your blades, the dance of 4 arms working in harmony, it is art. Your people have turned violence into performance, into theater." Her voice hardened. "But theater is not combat. Performance is not survival. And when you asked for a real fight, you did not understand what those words meant." Closed his eyes. He remembered his boasts, his confidence, his absolute certainty that he would win. He had thought himself a warrior. He had thought he understood violence. He had been a fool. "Humans come from Earth," continued. "You have heard the classification, Class 7, the highest rating. Let me tell you what that means." She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the stars drifted slowly past. "On Earth, the weather can kill you. Hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, earthquakes. The planet itself is hostile to life. We have fires that consume entire forests, floods that drown entire cities, droughts that last for years. But the weather is not the worst part. The life forms are worse. We evolved alongside predators that could kill us with a single bite. Tigers, lions, bears, wolves, sharks in the water. Snakes and spiders with venom that could stop our hearts. Even tiny creatures, bacteria, viruses, parasites, that could invade our bodies and destroy us from within." She turned back to face him. "For millions of years, everything on our planet was trying to kill us. We were not the biggest. We were not the strongest. We were not the fastest. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. But we survived. Do you know how?" Opened his eyes. He could not speak, but he was listening. "We survived by being smarter, by being more adaptable, by learning to use tools and weapons, and most importantly, by learning to end threats before they could end us." Walked back to his bed. "A real fight is not a contest. It is not entertainment. A real fight is what happens when 2 beings are genuinely trying to kill each other. And in a real fight, time is your enemy. Every second you spend dancing and posturing is a second where you might die." Humans learned this lesson in our blood. We learned it in our bones. We do not fight for glory. We do not fight for honor. We fight to survive. And survival means ending the threat as fast as possible. She sat down again. In that arena, you were performing. You were putting on a show for the crowd. You spun your blades and made impressive movements and expected me to respond in kind. But I was not performing, I was surviving. The moment the fight began, I was already moving to end it. I targeted your weakest points. I used your own momentum against you. I did not waste a single breath, a single step, a single motion. That is why you lost. Not because I am stronger or faster, because I understood what we were doing and you did not. Felt something wet on his face, tears. He had not cried since he was a child. You should not feel ashamed, said. Her voice was softer now. You are a product of your evolution just as I am a product of mine. Your people never needed to learn what humans learned. You were blessed with a peaceful world, a gentle existence. But the galaxy is not peaceful. The galaxy is not gentle. There are threats out there, real threats, that will not play by your rules. They will not dance with you in the arena. They will not give you a chance to display your skill. They will simply kill you. She reached out and placed her hand on his arm. Her touch was light, almost gentle. I did not come here to humiliate you. I came here to teach you. The lesson was painful and I am sorry for that, but pain is how humans learn. Pain is how we remember. Finally managed to speak. His voice was a ragged whisper. What do you want from me? Smiled, it was not a mocking smile. It was almost sad. I want you to understand. I want you to go back to your people and tell them what you learned today. Tell them that humans are not prey. Tell them that we do not fight for sport. Tell them that if they want peace with us, they will have it. But if they want war, they should be very, very certain that they are ready for what that means. She stood and picked up her tablet. You will heal. You will walk again. You might even fight again. But I hope when you do, you will remember what happened here. Not the defeat, the lesson. She walked to the door and paused. There is an old saying among my people. The only fight you always win is the fight you do not have. Real warriors, true warriors, understand that violence is a last resort, not a first option. They know that the best victory is the one achieved without bloodshed. Your arena taught you to seek combat. My planet taught me to avoid it. And yet, when combat becomes unavoidable. She looked back at him. You saw what happens. I hope you never have to see it again. Then she was gone. Lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling. His body was broken. His pride was shattered. Everything he had believed about himself had been stripped away in 3 seconds. But somewhere beneath the pain and the shame, something new was growing. A seed of understanding. A glimpse of a truth he had never seen before. He closed his eyes and began to think. For the first time in his life, he had a lot to learn. 6 months passed. His body healed slowly. His left wrist required 3 surgeries and still ached when the weather changed. His right knee had been rebuilt with synthetic parts that would never feel quite natural. The nerve damage in his spine took the longest to repair, weeks of physical therapy, learning to walk again like a child taking first steps. But his body was not what had changed the most. He spent those months studying. He read everything he could find about Earth and its people. He watched their history, their wars, their evolution from prey to predator. He studied their combat techniques, not to learn them. His body was wrong for human fighting styles, but to understand the philosophy behind them. And he talked too. She visited him once a week at first, then twice, then more. They sat together and discussed violence and peace, war and survival. She was patient with his questions, never mocking, never condescending. She treated him like a student worth teaching. One day, as they sat in the station's garden, surrounded by alien plants from a dozen worlds, asked her something that had been bothering him. Why did you agree to fight me? You could have refused. The ambassador wanted to refuse. Considered the question. She was always careful with her words, choosing them the way a surgeon chooses instruments. Because it was necessary, she said finally. You were not the only one watching that fight. The entire galaxy was watching. They all saw what you saw, a tiny human woman facing the greatest warrior of the Empire. And they saw me lose. They saw you learn, she smiled slightly. There is a difference. Your defeat taught a lesson that words never could. It showed every species in the galaxy that humans are not to be trifled with. Not because we are the strongest or the fastest, but because we understand violence in a way that comfortable species do not. Comfortable species. Species that evolved on gentle worlds. Species that never had to fight for survival against a planet that wanted them dead. She looked up at the artificial sky. Most civilizations in the galaxy have forgotten what real danger feels like. They have armies and weapons, but they treat war like a game. They think violence has rules. And humans do not. Humans know better. Her voice was quiet. We have seen what happens when violence has no rules. We have done terrible things to each other throughout our history, things that still haunt us. Was silent for a moment. He had read about human wars. The numbers were staggering. Millions killed in single conflicts. Weapons that could destroy entire cities in an instant. Cruelty and destruction on a scale that most species could not imagine. You are afraid, he said slowly, not of us, of yourselves. Nodded. That is why we work so hard for peace. We know what we are capable of. We know what happens when our survival instincts take control. It is not pretty. She turned to face him. That is the other lesson I wanted to teach you. Not just that humans are dangerous, but that we are dangerous and we know it. We choose peace not because we are weak, but because we understand the alternative. We have seen the alternative. We have survived the alternative. And you do not want to see it again. No, never again. They sat in comfortable silence. Around them the garden hummed with quiet life. Water trickled through artificial streams. Insects, imported from a dozen worlds, buzzed among the flowers. The Galactic Combat League has invited me to speak, said. At their annual summit, all the champions and warriors from across the galaxy will be there. What will you say? The truth. He stood, testing his rebuilt knee. It held. I will tell them what I learned, what you taught me. I will tell them that everything they believe about combat is wrong. Raised an eyebrow. That will not make you popular. No, but it might save some lives. She stood as well, and for a moment they faced each other. The giant warrior and humbled, the tiny human woman, calm and patient as always. Thank you, said, for everything. Smiled, do not thank me yet. You still have much to learn. The summit was held on the largest station in the sector. Warriors from 100 species gathered in a great hall, their weapons displayed proudly, their armor gleaming. They had come to celebrate combat, to share techniques, to prove their worth. Walked to the center stage. The crowd fell silent. Many of them had seen his defeat. Some had laughed. Some had him. All of them were curious about what he would say. He took a deep breath and began. I spent my life seeking a real fight. I thought combat was about strength, speed, technique, displays of power. I thought victory proved worth. I thought a true warrior was one who never lost. He paused, looking out at the assembled crowd. Then I fought a human, a small human woman half my size with no weapons. She destroyed me in 3 seconds, not because she was stronger or faster, though she was both, but because she understood something I did not. Real combat is not about winning, it is about surviving. And the species that evolved on Earth, that clawed their way to sapience through millions of years of constant danger, they do not fight to win. They fight to live. Every movement is designed to end the threat as quickly as possible. No wasted motion, no displays, no mercy. He gestured at the hall around them. What we do here, this is theater. beautiful, exciting, and utterly divorced from what real violence looks like. We call ourselves warriors, but we have never actually faced what war really means. The crowd murmured. Some looked angry, some looked confused, but many were listening. I am not saying we should abandon our traditions. They have value. They build discipline, skill, community. But perhaps we should be grateful that humans prefer peace. He let that sink in. Because if they ever decided to wage war the way they wage real fights, if they ever stopped holding back. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Later that evening at the diplomatic reception, found standing alone by a window. She was holding a drink that smelled like citrus, watching the stars. "Good speech," she said without turning around. "I meant every word. I know, that is why I came, to see if you had actually learned." He stood beside her, careful of his still healing body. "Will you fight me again?" Laughed. It was a real laugh, surprised and genuine. "Why, so I can break your other wrist?" "No," he turned to face her. "So you can teach me, not to fight like a human. I do not think I could survive that training, but to understand what combat really means." She studied him for a long moment. Her eyes were dark and deep, full of knowledge paid for in blood and pain. She had seen things he could not imagine. She had done things he could not imagine. But she was also tired. He could see that now, tired of fighting, tired of teaching lessons with violence, tired of being the monster that peaceful species feared. "All right," she said finally. "First lesson. The best fight is the one that never happens. Violence is a last resort, not a first option. If you ever find yourself in a real fight, you have already made a mistake somewhere. And if the mistake has already been made." She finished her drink and set the glass aside. "Then you end it fast, before your enemy can." They stood together, watching the stars. Two warriors from different worlds, different evolutions, different philosophies. One had spent his life seeking combat. One had spent her life trying to avoid it. But now, perhaps, they understood each other. And in understanding, there was hope. Hope that the galaxy might learn to choose peace not from weakness, but from wisdom. Hope that violence might become truly a last resort. Hope that species from 1,000 worlds might look at each other and see not threats, but partners. It was a fragile hope. The universe was vast and cold and full of dangers, but hope was what humans did best. Hope against all odds. Hope in the face of certain death. Hope that tomorrow might be better than today. Looked at the tiny human beside him, and felt something he had not felt in a long time. Not the fire of combat, not the hunger for victory. Just peace. And that, he realized, was worth more than 100 victories.